Well, let's start. Well, let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Crypto. I know Dave. I don't know him, but I know Dave.
Yeah.
But still,
you know
surely you've heard. No, I just know that. I know that. Excuse me. I should say I know Dave from the movie.
Yeah.
I know Dave. There's a long form. We did a long Jon Stewart's podcast the other day. I highly recommend. It's a very deep dive. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
But Dave figures in that. But surely you had heard of crypto previous to Dave.
I mean, I'm sure I had heard the word, of course, for sure. But I think like a lot of Americans, people in the world, I was like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, seems weird and scammy, and I just didn't pay any attention.
Walk me through a little bit when you started paying attention.
Right.
And, because when you started paying attention, and then there was a book as well as the movie, and what came first, and as the light bulbs, came on to do all this.
Right. So
how did that go?
So, like, it's roughly what you see in the movie, although I did not have the prescience to, like, actually record my conversation with Dave in 2020. So that was reenacted. The movie is called Everyone is Lying to You for Money, and I am lying to you for money. But Dave is charming and wonderful. And so that is kind of, like, I would say how it started. I was bored out of my mind. The pandemic hit. I was kind of looking for something new to do, some new challenge. Could have never predicted this, but I don't know. I've always loved. So I was an econ major. Obviously, I've always loved behavioral economics. Like, how do people actually behave in the economy? Not the sort of impression that a lot of folks have.
What is that? I don't want to take up too much time, but please.
So basically, like, if economics is a study of how people engage in economic activity on an individual level as well as on a group level, societal level, then you really need to understand how people think and behave in order to model that behavior. And then there's this whole, like, strand of economics, sort of traditional economics, which is like trying to create these mathematical models based off the idea that human beings are rational actors. Like, they do what's rational, which, as we know as actors, and we know actual actors, and we know as students of human behavior, is absurd. Like, people are not rational. They do stupid shit all the time. They do weird stuff. I've always been fascinated by that. And there's this guy named Robert Schiller who really influenced me a lot. And sort of alongside that, perhaps, is true crime and my love of true crime. I've always loved true crime. I love the sort of subgenre I call stupid crime, where...
What falls under that?
Like Coen Brothers-esque crime,
where
like they're like obviously committing the crimes. Like in crypto, they're like committing the crimes via tweet or acknowledging that they're committing the crimes. Like and then they turn on each other, for all the community. Like they hate each other. They turn on each other and start, and it just felt like crypto had a lot of that. So I was sort of fascinated on many, many different levels, and also just kind of like I kept thinking about what is money? Like, is this money? And if it's not, what is it? And what does that say about us that we're trying to, or at least some people are trying to replace this idea of money with this other idea of money? What does that say about them, about us? And as you see in the movie, money is this made up thing. So it's like this very abstract concept that, it's taken on various forms over the years as a representation of something. But at the end of the day, it's trust. It's like this idea that, like, if I gave you a dollar bill, you're going to take it from me, not because you trust me, but because you can use it. And yet crypto said we can replace, like, the human trust with computer code. And that just felt wrong to me, like intellectually wrong. Like, that just can't be true. And also a little scary.
Trusting the code.
Trusting the code, and then you see in the Sam Bankman-Fried thing, like, that's the lie is, one of the lies.
That it's not human.
Right, because there's people behind the code, and Sam just changed, or got one of his guys to change like 2 lines of code to steal everybody's money. So yeah, that's a very long answer, short question, but like it engaged me on many different levels.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
And then
he's serious, whether you are or not. It's not always sarcastic.
And then I learned so much. I did a crypto series,
you did.
Dramatic series for 3 years. I learned nothing about it.
There was also a lot of like popular entertainment docs and otherwise about crypto, and there was more about the story of it, I think. Although your show wasn't, I guess your show got into the crime.
Well, it's funny. It almost mimicked what I kind of feel like has happened,
Right.
or at least, which is, it's sold as a utopian ideal and is instantly criminalized. You
Yes.
know, and is
Yes.
and is and everyone's still waiting for the utopia or just the use case that isn't crime.
Right. Or gambling.
Or isn't or gambling,
Yeah.
or watching the stock go up and down, and,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And yet, so when did you decide to embark on the book? When did you decide to embark on the movie?
Yeah. So I came out the other side of like Dave and some intense internet research born of pandemic boredom, and was like, this feels wrong and a scam. And I took an edible and I was like, I should write a book about this, and because if this is a huge scam, like that's a good story. And then I woke up in the morning and I was like, I don't know how to write a book. And then I took another edible and I just
know how to write a book.
Well, and then I realized I would find I could have someone else help me to write a book, someone who actually has written a book before, and that led me to Jacob Silverman, this journalist who had written an article for Slate called "Everyone is lying for money." Even Donald Trump. Sorry, it's been a long publicity week. Even Donald Trump knows Bitcoin is a scam. That was the title of his article, and which is particularly interesting now because Donald Trump called Bitcoin a scam as recently as 2021.
They all did.
Yeah. Well, now he's getting
all the Kevin O'Leary types.
Yeah. There's been a lot of evolution of their perspectives on this. So Jacob had written that article. I followed him on Twitter. He followed me back and invited him to drinks in Brooklyn bar and said, "Hey man, crazy idea, but I know it's going up, but like I think it's going to crash." He was going on paternity leave, and so we started writing articles to prove our bona fides to sell a book proposal. We sold the book proposal, and then we went into the real world. This was all sort of like pandemic stuff. We went into the real world to start reporting on it. And the first day, so we were going to South by Southwest to like give some talk, and I told my agent, like, can you just find me like a cameraman, like a guy with a sound pack and a camera to like, I just feel like there's a lot of crazy characters in crypto, and why not, you know? It's like $750. Like, what's the worst that could happen? And the first day, we ran into Alex Mashinsky. Yeah, we're lying to you about that too. Yeah. Or we reconfigured that idea. Yeah, I was on the floor of the convention center and I saw the Celsius booth, and I was like, I know this company. It's like super sketchy, and they were being sued by the Texas state regulator at that time. It just hadn't been like adjudicated yet. And then I look over and he's there. I'm like, I know that guy. And so then I'm really nervous, right? And I'm like, I gotta go talk to him. So I asked this cameraman who I met yesterday, like, mic me up. And I'm so nervous. I'm an actor. Like, what am I doing? And I walk over to Mashinsky and I'm like, hey, my name's Ben McKenzie. I'm an actor. I'm writing a book about crypto. I left out the fraud part.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, we met in Vegas, right? I appreciate you laughing that hard at it. That's how I was on the inside. I'm 40 years old. I haven't been to Vegas in a very long time. But the acting training kicked in, right? The yes and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Anyway, can we chat? And so I just sat there and talked to this dude. And like, as you see in the movie, he's so full of shit. Right? Just like so obviously full of shit, right? Like big used car salesman vibes. And that was our first day.
Wow.
So I'm like, wow, we gotta continue. Yeah.
So then you did them in tandem, the book and the movie.
Yeah, and then I had to like finish the events of the film are 2022, and we were at the same time, writing the book as well. But by the time, so Sam got arrested in the fall of 2022, so only like 5-6 months.
Gosh, it feels like only yesterday.
I know. Yeah, 4 or 5 months after I interviewed him, he was arrested, and then testimony and all that. And at that point, the publisher's like, we need this book now. You know what I mean? So we were writing very quickly, and it came out July of 23. And then I could really really pivot to the movie. And I had a bunch of footage. I had interviews with Sam.
What portion of the footage had you filmed at that point when the book came out?
I would say this is really giving away that, but I like it. No, this is inside.
I'm more,
No, I appreciate it.
I'm more equipped to talk to you about the movie than crypto.
Well, let's talk about it seriously because it was fun.
Yeah, I want to talk about it.
Yeah. So I had the interviews with the fraudsters, Sam and Alex. I had trip to El Salvador. I had all the verite stuff, basically, right? What I didn't have was a story. I didn't have a narrative spine. And when talking to the editors, the story that emerged very quickly was, it's you, right? Like, it's your trip. You know, if you're going to tell it, like in a book, you can be very academic and esoteric. But like in a movie, you need to draw people in. Why do I care? Who am I following? What's going on? Who are the villains? Who are the good guys? And if it's me, then what do people know about me?
Yeah.
What do people know about me, Adam?
Oh, geez, you're from Texas.
You know, I'm Ryan from the OC, and so
I want to get double back to that, but
so make fun of yourself as much as possible, right? Like, and that was such a great note from the editors of like, I think the way to do this is, and once I was on board, it was like so freeing, you know, because it's like the kind of the story I felt, or the way I want to tell the story is, what's the genre? It's a comedy. Dark, somewhat, but also ridiculous. And the protagonist is me, and if I can't...
This is the conclusion you came to, or you already felt like...
I came to, with the help of this great team. And oh, and by the way, with Giorgio Angelini. Giorgio Angelini produced the movie with me. I, like, buried the lead wildly. Sorry, Giorgio. Giorgio came aboard as I was turning to the movie to be like, okay, let's figure this out. And then it all kind of fell together where it was like, okay, you know, if you can understand it's a hero's journey story. It's very like 3-act structure. It's tight 90 minutes, you know, what's the turn in act 1, what's the turn in act 2, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, as to the OC, did it, you know, and all your other roles, was it a help? Was it a hindrance?
It was a huge help.
Yeah.
It was a huge help. Yeah. Because I think, people want to talk to actors. You know, like celebrity is a real currency, if you will. And you're underestimated. And, you know, like, who's going to believe that Ryan Atwood is going to ask you tough questions, right? So, especially these guys who are... And I guess
most of the interviews you did before you outed yourself as the author a little bit.
Well, Mashinsky, I don't think...
He doesn't read.
I don't know how much he's reading about anything. But Sam, what's interesting is he must have known, because we had sold the book, and in our Twitter bios, it said, Jacob Silverman and me, it said, writing a book about crypto and fraud. And yet he still agreed to be interviewed, which I couldn't really understand for the longest time. But I do think it is what that guy Dan Davis says, where, you know, fraudsters are sort of like the ultimate method actors, right? Like, they have to believe in it, because otherwise they would have to deal with, you know, the fact that they're stealing all this money, and it would be it's just like extreme cognitive dissonance. Like, they really can't acknowledge that. So that interview was obviously a very strange hour of my life.
I heard you say that, and I don't necessarily feel this way, I heard you say that, you know, as an actor, you feel like you have a better bullshit detector, you feel trained in the art of, you know,
you don't feel that way.
I don't.
Okay, talk to me. How am I to you about that?
I don't know. I mean, I just...
Because I think of you as having a good bullshit detector, like a very.
If I do, I mean, I don't ascribe it to being an actor necessarily.
Okay, all right.
And that's I guess that's all.
Right.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Yeah. No. I all right. I hear that. I guess I'm now a New Yorker who's in LA, and I feel quite self-conscious about like saying anything bad
actors
about...
are fake.
No. About like the sort of like. You know, one of the best books on showbiz is the title is "Hello, He Lied." You know, it's about
it's
like
what? Hello, He Lied.
Hello, He Lied.
Hello, He Lied.
Who wrote that book? Linda Obst. Thank you so much.
Love Linda Obst.
Look at you. See, you're smarter than me. Like, there's a certain everyone lies in showbiz, not for bad reasons. but like you look great in that shirt, you know. You do actually look great in that shirt, but like there's like white lies and there's like you know, there's deeper ones, and I just feel like if you're reading human behavior, you have to do that in our business. But
and you feel like that's more. So we won't get too bogged down in this, but you feel like that's more off screen than like being on screen in a scene. You think it's more from the business.
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I also think I mean, so with the Sam Bankman-Fried, for example, like I'm going to approach that as like, what do I want out of it, right?
Sure.
I want to talk to him for a while. I want him to not shut it down, right? So
well, I can certainly relate to like how you break down a scene, or how you play a scene.
Yes,
you know?
And so if I can't so I want the scene to go a certain way. I have no like specific control, but like generally speaking, I want it to be. I'm going to ask him some real questions. I want some real answers. I kind of want to fuck with him, right, a little bit, right, like the mug, you know, like a little.
Your photo in the end feels
delicious. Yeah, that was fun. But I want to kind of throw him off the talking points, right? Yeah. So I prepared, as an actor might, his lines. Like I watched his interviews, and I was like, okay, he's going to say this at this point. He's either going to say this or he's going to say this. And if he says this, I'm going to say this. And if you know what I mean? Like you really. And then I also, how do I work in a joke? Like how do I make it also funny-ish? He did a lot of work for me, so that didn't require too many. But yeah, it was really fun.
Well, I think him fidgeting, the more he fidgets, the stiller you are, which, you know, it contrasts nicely.
Yeah. That's the nice, like, I do think as actors, right? Like,
yeah.
Just let him.
Yeah.
He's good. Just let him figure it out. I'm trying to think of what else I was going to say about the fidgeting. He, at some point, midway through, I kind of looked over and I saw my cameraman like looking up, and as though there was some noise, like AC was running or something. And there was a noise, but it was Sam had pulled out a fidget spinner underneath.
Oh wow!
So I think that was around when I was asking
that's a tell.
I think, I mean, it's not super subtle, right? I think that was around when I was asking about political donations.
Yeah. Let me consult my. What was the conversation? How gung ho or reluctant was your family to be part of it? And as for you too, you know,
right? No, totally. It's definitely a series of conversations.
You know,
it's a choice, and as soon as one of the things about deciding what's my story, and then I think people need some context and some sense of I mean,
it's highly enjoyable, and I'll say emotional too. I mean, I really feel the end. Your journey and your weariness and this long trip you've been on, it's bittersweet.
Yeah, the desire to be a fake cop again.
Yeah.
Does that resonate with you? Yeah. And it resonates, Moraine has been incredibly gracious and understanding. My kids couldn't care less. Like, they have no idea. I've been doing a lot of Q&As. I was doing some in New York, and my 10-year-old was missing me and decided to come with me at one point. And he's like, I don't have to sit through the movie again, do I? I'm like, no, it's fine. Why are you coming? He's like, I can get a Sprite and a Coke, or a Sprite and a popcorn. I was like, yeah, sure. So yeah, they don't care, which is cool. It's hard to explain cryptocurrency to anyone, but especially a 5-year-old. But on a personal level, if I can share, like this film, amongst other things, for me is a document of this time, or snapshot of this time in our lives, and that means a lot.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah. And hopefully my therapy bill for these kids in the future is not like $50,000
because of this.
Because of this, you know what I mean? When crypto becomes, the global currency of all of us. No.
So, writing the book versus the movie, or those two experiences, I imagine they differed a lot. Was either more rewarding or more challenging?
Just different, Yeah. Just different. I mean, I think.
Did you feel more suited to one than the other?
No, like equally unsuited. I'm not trying to be like humble, just genuinely like. I guess writing a book was more intimidating originally.
Uh-huh.
What was interesting about making a movie is I think I actually felt like fake confident about that. I was like, I know, I know how to make a movie. Yeah. And thankfully, Giorgio and the crew that we assembled helped me. Really helped me understand or re-understand or better understand story structure. Particularly for a comedy. If it's a comedy, it's got to be tight. It's got to move. You got to keep throwing the audience off. I'm very proud that this movie's 90 minutes, almost on the dot.
Yeah.
Because and it's dealing with these theoretically very esoteric concepts. So that was just a constant collaboration between me and the incredible team that we assembled.
A little more related to what we were talking about a little earlier in terms of constructing and reconstructing scenes, but I like the hat tip at the very, very end to it all. When you're talking, about in the very last thing in the movie when you're talking about you have more scenes to shoot.
Oh breaking the fourth wall. Yeah.
I thought that was nice, a nice way to. I mean, and in a way, it bookends it because that's what you do in the very beginning of the movie too.
Right. Exactly. Everyone's lying to you for money, myself included.
Yeah.
And it's all a story, and there's this Orson Welles movie, F for Fake, where he's just constantly messing with. It's a really weird movie, but he's constantly messing with the audience, and I took some inspiration from that, and also just I don't know, there's also moments that are very sort of I don't know. The Morena and Me stuff is kind of tradition. I don't know if that's a rom-com. I don't know what genre exactly. Yeah. There's a intimacy.
It's got rom-com quality. Yeah.
Yeah, but subtle, and kind of lived in, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. She's just giving me shit. She does it every day. She doesn't have to. Neither of us have to act that much.
This movie ends quite a few years ago now.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you a little bit about what's transpired since then, the present and the future. If you were to, if you had been carrying on filming or writing in the last 3 years, are there stuff that you feel sorry to have missed out on? Are there, are you still making it in your head as the future unfolds? As the present unfolds?
No, I'm not making the film again.
Are you still on the beat, I guess?
Right, on the case?
Yeah.
I am at a place where I've said a lot about this for many years in book form and interviews and the film and all this. And now people can see it, right? Before, at least with the movie, it was, this thing that we kept working on.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad you guys didn't see it,
2
years ago when we were still figuring it out. So now I think I can switch over into somewhat moving on with my life, but also
I imagine it's hard to shake, and especially
it is hard to
now
shake.
that you're. When did you finish the movie?
Last year, sort of spring, summer of last year is when we were officially done. The post took a very long time. There was graphics and a lot of things like that. We stopped principal photography in 2023, I want to say.
Yeah.
24. Thanks. Georgia's telling me when I'm stopped.
But I imagine doing the press for it has sort of, re-engaged.
It has. I think what is clarified to me is if this isn't going away, what are we going to do about it, right? And there's so many other things that we have to deal with. I almost feel, a little reluctant to burden you guys with this. Yes, I'm sorry. There's another thing you have to be mad about and care about. But it is tied into a lot of other things, that you already hate. So that's good. And so, I guess I'm pivoting into some form of advocacy, where, I want people to, I love it that you guys came and that you sat here amongst each other, amongst people that you don't know. And was it cathartic? Was it did you feel good watching it? I'm asking for an answer, but okay. All right. That's what I'm kind of going for a little bit. It's times are tough, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is all bad. But we can laugh at it, We are allowed to laugh.
We should,
at it. At least for now. We're allowed to laugh at it.
Yeah.
And we do have agency. It doesn't seem like it often because this guy, this fucking asshole, is really good at turning us against each other and making us feel like we're crazy or we don't get it or all that stuff. But we do. And we can fight back. And so when it comes to crypto, I have very specific things that I'm advocating for. And I think we're in a really pivotal moment where, you know, in macro, we're not going to be able to change things until he's out, until 2028. And, you know, look, I'm a lifelong Democrat, surprise, surprise. But, like, I wish that there was some responsibility on the other side, but I can't control that. No one in my party can control what the other party does. I can hold the Democrats to account, you know, or I feel like I have much more agency there.
Sure.
And a lot of Democrats are on the wrong side of it. A lot of the elite Democrat leaders are on the wrong side of the issue. And last year there was this bill called the Genius Act that was passed, which, if you know, is Congress. It's called the Genius Act. It's got to be fucking stupid.
It's a cool name.
Yeah. Great marketing, guys. Real subtle. It allows corporations to issue their own cryptocurrencies, their own monies, right? So it's literal corporate money in the form of these things called stablecoins. So, and 100 Democrats voted for it. Hakeem Jeffries voted for it.
Yeah.
My Congressman Dan Goldman voted for it, which is why I'm supporting his opponent, Brad Lander. My personal belief as a lifelong Democrat. So what is that decision, right? You're deciding to go with corporations over people.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, if you're a Democrat and you're even hesitating over the question of to go with people or corporations, you should get the fuck out of the party.
Yeah.
I know that may sound like, oh, it's a stump speech kind of situation, but like I'm angry, you know. I bonded with Jon Stewart over this. Like that's his big thing too. You know, it's been this series of decisions by the elites to basically, and Citizens United obviously has fucked this, but if we can't fix them, we have to at least model good behavior ourselves, right? Think of it as a parent. You and I are both parents. Like, you know, you can't control what other parents do, but you certainly can control what you do and have the behavior model for your children. And right now, so many of the leaders in the Democratic Party are way too squishy, if not beholden to these interests. You know, they're complicit, complacent, and corrupt. Some of them, or at least enabling the corruption of the corruption of the country and the economic system and the political system.
Well, I mean, I can't believe, I don't want to say you're a lone voice, but you know, there's not that many. There's not much advocacy for it, you know, really. That not much visible. I'm sure there maybe is.
There are plenty of skeptics, but I'm the only one who's been on TV.
Yeah.
No, but you're right in the sense that there's this asymmetry of intensity of.
There's either pro or agnostic, but very few people are.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the majority.
Visibly,
the majority of the country, so 80+% of the country's never bought cryptocurrency, right?
Yeah.
And the majority of the public is skeptical of it. So, like, we are the majority. I'm assuming if you're here, you're skeptical of it. You don't have to be. I'm just making this up. And if you're pro, look forward to your question. Let's go for it, baby. But we are the majority. We just don't feel that way because we have a lot of other things going on. We don't think about cryptocurrency in the same way I didn't think about cryptocurrency prior to 2020. But because of the asymmetry of interest, like the people that are really into it care about it a lot, particularly the corporations, right? And one of the things I'm trying to explain is, like, I am not criticizing people that buy it. Like, I am trying to protect you. I am trying to be advocates for you because the industry doesn't care about you. They don't care. They're trying to exploit you. Like, where did these crypto companies get their money? From you, from the customers. That's where they got the money. And now they're trying to manipulate the political process with that money. You know, it's outrageous, absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, wild times.
Good times.
Do we have time for a few questions? Should we take a few questions?
Please,
Anyone have questions? Please. You with the sunglasses and back, just because I saw him go up first. Your hand.
Hi, great film, loved it. While watching this, I just kept seeing so many similarities just to
Yeah.
They're kind of operating the same sort of scam.
They are, yeah, there's a lot of overlap. There's a thing called the grift shift, which is grifters who are in crypto who are now in AI. I was reading this profile of Sam Altman in the New Yorker. I don't know if any of you guys have caught that. It's pretty good. It's long, but it's good. And at one point, there's a quote from an unnamed Microsoft exec who had business with OpenAI, and he says something like, there's a reasonable probability that Sam Altman is the next Bernie Madoff or Sam Bankman-Fried. And I was like, oh, fuck. One of the differences I would say is that AI is a real technology. Like, it is changing things already, and it probably will change things whether we like it or not. I have plenty of things that I don't like. So I think it's a lot less about the technology, and much more about who's in control of the technology, which is a repetitive theme, right, throughout recent history. Like, and unfortunately, capitalism, like, left to its own devices, does not solve that problem. In fact, it makes it worse. Capitalism isn't immoral, but it is amoral. All it cares about is return on capital. And so it really needs guardrails from our political system, our democracy, somewhat quasi-democracy that we live in order to sort of keep it at bay. And I think we're at this pivotal point where, unfortunately, we won't be able to do a lot about that in 2026, although we can hold Democrats to account. But in 2028, 29, we can, if there's one good thing about Trump, I feel like he's blown the Overton window up like insanely. And so we can do things that we should have done a long time ago. Just to give you an example, this is a little bit of my hobby horse, so forgive me, but why do we have billionaires? Mandami was asked about this, and he, sort of said, kind of, sincerely but kind of flippantly, kind of, laughed about the ridiculousness of it. But imagine a world in which the billionaires can keep the first billion. You're welcome. You got it off of us. Congratulations.
But inflation.
And they have all the boats and the cars and the houses that they need, and they can live off of interest for the rest of their lives and never work a day. And so, cry me a river about not having more money. But the rest of it we could use that, like people could use healthcare, people could use universal healthcare and childcare and all of that. And also, what are these guys using, and it is all usually guys, what are they using the extra money for? To buy shit they don't need and to spend it to corrupt our process and to get more control and power. Well, fuck you. It's a democracy, isn't it? I mean, you can tax people at 99.95%. Like, so it's after $1 billion. It's not, and by the way, it's just that. I'm not taxing anyone below that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We can argue about that on another day.
Yeah.
All we're agreeing on right now is that these guys are out of control.
Yeah.
And the problem is if you don't correct it now, it gets worse.
Let me ask you, straw man.
Sure.
Because what they say in California is, well, they're going to move out of California.
No, if you do it federal.
I know.
Right.
But what if they move to fucking Australia?
Oh no, too bad.
Fuck them.
No, because there's still the taxes are here, man. If you're running the corporations here,
the corporations are here. Too bad. Ooh, I like it.
I mean, no, truly, that's why you can't do it on the state level, or why it's harder to do it on the state level, right? And the fact that we can't do it on the federal level, or haven't been able to do it on the federal level is really interesting, given those dynamics, right? Because the Senate is this like not so democratic body anymore because it doesn't represent the majority of the public, right? Yeah.
You, please.
Very simple question. I know this is playing, New York, LA. Will this be on a streaming service? Because I know you've done the whole circuit as Miami and done South by Southwest and stuff, but will this be anywhere so that we can spread the word?
Thank you. Will this be on a streaming service? This is only going to get on a streaming service if you spread the word. I've had meetings with streamers. This was last year. He was cracking down on Jimmy Kimmel and all these other people. I have no idea what happened, but we're here now. And if you like the movie, please tell somebody. We don't know. We got to show them.
I'm optimistic.
I'm optimistic too, but here's the thing. I also kind of resent the power. You know what I mean? I really do. Like, I'm really kind of, if they can have Melania Yeah. We can have this. You know what I mean?
Sell it for half of them.
Yeah. $35 million tops. By the way, this film, more profitable than Melania. Also not a bribe. Anyone else? How about you? Yes, please. Yes, with the headband.
Okay, so hey, I absolutely love that it started with an illusion and brought you into it that way. And I love the nod to children throughout. There were very subtle nods to the kids throughout because it gave it a moral center. In terms of finding those people that you did the Zooms with too, that also I think, you know, that really emotional moment you had with the guy who had lost everything and was trying to make the money for his, you know, spend more time with his daughter. Finding those people to go on camera, how was that process for you? Because I think with documentaries, that's a really difficult thing to get people to trust you to do.
Yeah. Giorgio and I posted on a Reddit, Celsius community board, and I think every person that responded was a guy. We didn't include all of them just for editing purposes. But I'm really glad we did that. And it was nice for me to talk to them and kind of understand them. The crypto industry, the insiders, would like to paint me as the bad guy, right? Much easier story to sell or some sort of like way of, you know, but obviously that's not true.
You want those documentary dollars?
Exactly. Yeah, that's actually, I mean, we should talk about some of the funniest criticisms that I got, that I'm a sellout. I left television acting to write books and make documentaries. That's where the real money is. Yeah, there's so many disingenuous arguments. It's like even hard to know where to begin. But yeah, I'm really glad that I talked to those guys, and I hope that humanizes too the issue, right? Where it's not oppositional necessarily. Like I'm not. If people want to put money into things and they can afford to lose it, I understand that. I just, you know, I'm trying to give investors protections and things like that. But also, why are they so desperate to? Like, why can't we give all of us? Why do we have to gamble in order to get ahead? Like, shouldn't we have more of a foundation under our feet? Which again, billionaires, you know, like we're talking about trillions of dollars. You can do a lot with trillions of dollars.
This gentleman right here, please.
Hi. Did you, in the process of making your research, did you dive into how crypto might be, you know, linked to petroleum, for example? I'm from Venezuela, and they attempted to do like some type of crypto, and you were doing the movie during the period in which Venezuela was going through hyperinflation.
Yeah.
So and crypto preys upon people that are desperate.
Yeah.
You can't be more desperate with inflation of 10,000%.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, exactly. And so now you're sort of stuck between two bad choices, right? Go with this currency that's like blowing up, or go with this crypto stuff, which may be stable, but then usually the way to buy it and sell it is through a lot of like sketchy guys, right? Yeah, I mean, so look, crypto is of course a tool, and it could be used for good, right? What I see is so much crime, but you know, unfortunately, the solution, as I see it, is not to go further into crypto. It's to fix all of the other flaws of not just our system, but other systems. You know, all this stuff gets messy, right? Money's made up, government's made up, religion's made up. I'm sorry for the religious out there, but like they're all social constructs, and they all rely on social consensus. And when that consensus breaks down, it gets pretty gnarly. And I understand people that go to crypto. Unfortunately, I've also heard horror stories about people going to crypto and then also getting screwed. So, yeah, it's a rough world out there. I don't know. what to say. In terms of Venezuela, I know there's some crypto. There's also, crypto being used to get ships through the Strait of Hormuz now. They're paying the Iranians in crypto because the Iranians are shut out of the banking system. These things called stable coins, which are cryptocurrencies that are pegged one-to-one with the real currency, like the US dollar. Like, they're not issued by our government, obviously, but they're claiming that they're worth $1. They're really this black market form of money. The crime is, staggering, right? $154 billion of criminal activity last year alone. Most of that is via stablecoins. And so that begs the question to me, like, if they're drafting off of the trust that we have built up over 200 years as a society, the United States dollar, and they're not actually a dollar, isn't that a counterfeit dollar? And shouldn't we shut this down? And to the degree that we can as a country. Because I think if we don't, and the fake money gets mixed with the real money, especially if the stable ones get into our regulated system, the 3 banks we saw that failed in 23, I think it could be far worse if it's bigger banks and it's more integrated.
A couple more. We'll go one this side, one that side. You in the back. No, you. Yes. Sorry to the person next to you.
In your research for the film, had you considered differentiating Bitcoin itself as a protocol from the wider crypto industry and the scams run in the industry?
Oh, I know you.
Yeah, you do.
Hi, Jeff.
Wait, Jeff. What do you mean? You mean what does protocol mean?
The open source code and design of Bitcoin itself. So, and the reason why I asked.
We don't, Jeff. Sorry. It's a long story.
You guys teach in my house back in the day.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the reason I ask is when Bitcoin launched, there was a white paper that outlaid the design.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, it mentioned nothing about investment. It mentioned nothing about an ROI, return on investment. It was an outline for code. And in the documentary, there's the FTX opaque code, and then Bitcoin code that's open source. So I'm just curious, because I'm an early Bitcoin miner, first group of 100 people with another friend,
You're the first group of first 100?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How are you not ridiculously wealthy right now? Maybe you are. Sorry if you are.
So at that stage, you couldn't exchange Bitcoin. There was no price to it, and
Right.
it was a protocol that offered really just a hedge against fiat currency and inflation, and that really was.
I don't know about that, but okay. But there wasn't a use case. Then the first use case was the Silk Road, was the dark web. Yeah, Jeff. Sorry, buddy. It was. Well, it wasn't, dude. What
Are we?
before?
You're
that,
saying that was the first use case. What say you? The first use case.
before that, one guy spent 10,000 Bitcoin on 2 pizzas. To give you an example of how valuable it was.
So really, first use case was to solve double spending.
Okay. All right. Okay. No.
I don't know what that is.
Exactly.
But really,
you don't. All right. I'm sorry. We can go down that rabbit hole.
Or
but
another
I don't
time.
think that's going to be a productive use of our time right now.
Had you thought to differentiate the actual Bitcoin code from the industry?
All right. So there's this New York Times article about who Satoshi Nakamoto might be. Did you guys see this?
Yes.
So I don't know that they proved who Satoshi is, but the guy that.
But the guy they think it is hates you.
Yes. So, but also, that guy Adam Back, he's a British cryptographer. He's the first person that Satoshi emailed. So he could be. One thing you should know about Adam Back is that his company Blockstream received funding from Jeffrey Epstein. It's in the Epstein files. So cryptocurrency gains an enormous amount, Bitcoin gains an enormous amount by this mythology of Satoshi Nakamoto and like the purity of this open source code and the protocol and all this stuff. And then you look at who's actually behind it, whether it's Back or some other cryptographer. And then the reality sets in of like who it actually is and what it was actually about. And maybe not intentionally, maybe wasn't the intention, but it really was originally used for crime. And now it's gambling plus crime. And I just think that we need to start there. And yes, Back hates me. Never met him, never interviewed him, must just not be a fan of the OC, I guess. He is referred to me as a crisis actor. Huh? I'm an actor. It's a crisis. He's very close to getting it. We're talking about this like cult-like belief in like the purity of some code, but I don't see how that has. I don't see the good that it's done.
I agree with you. I mean, I've talked to Jeff before, and and again, in general, I've heard utopian, idealistic stuff, but I've also yet to see it. But it's a huge industry that's done a lot of other things, but it hasn't been that. Let me go to the gentleman next to Jeff, just because you had your hand up too, and I.
It's interesting. My question was almost identical. To
Oh no.
I was going to say, did you think that that originally Bitcoin had idealistic motives and it got corrupted like Frankenstein?
Right.
Or was it a scam from the beginning?
Well, we don't know, right? I mean, I do think that's true. We don't know. But I do think if it is back and he did get money, so when he got money from Epstein, or when his company got money from Epstein was a registered sex offender. Just want to be clear. And Epstein also has other ties to crypto. He was funding Bitcoin core development secretly through the MIT Media Lab. Bitcoin core development is a group of programmers that maintain Bitcoin's operating system. There are people behind these systems, even though the belief in the purity of the code. There's always people.
I'll just say too that, like, knowing nothing, I could see the code being beautiful if you're into that sort of thing in and of itself, and an idealistic, pure, the new genome or whatever, which is removed from what it actually does in the world, or even what you wanted it to, whether you had designs past that anyways of what it would do. You, sir.
Yeah, my question kind of builds on that.
Oh my God. Somebody ask an OC question. I'm just joking. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
When I was growing up, Bitcoin was still like $1 to 1 Bitcoin, and it was something that like my asset dealer used to get assets.
Nice. I appreciate that.
And I'm wondering how it went from that to the White House into something that people believed in.
Sorry, how it grew, but yeah.
You felt like it used to have much more pedestrian uses and like ideas.
Exactly, like
Oh,
how
I
we
see.
go from something that we all kind of understood was this is how we do illegal things on the internet.
Right.
To, like a movement. That we
Right.
believe in and
That's a good question.
I want to take a guess. Please. Again, I feel like because you can make money at it, because you still can, because a lot of people did and a lot of people are, and it's like it behooves you to have a story that is altruistic. I don't want to say you don't have to excuse yourself for gambling, but it's just like it's going to go better for you. It's going to go better if you're trying to sell the business to other people, if you can put a very high religious idea on it as well.
Yeah.
And view it with that.
I think that's very true.
How are we doing on time?
Yeah.
One. I hear one. Who's the lucky? Everyone wants her. Yes. Okay, great.
Very, very emphatic, friends.
But startup was an awesome.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
For the interview with Sam, it felt like he was reading the mod while you were talking to him. I mean, great editing, but it really did feel like that.
He was.
Was there a moment when, like, by the time you got to who are you politically funding, it seemed like he had already check. He just had. It began to be too much for him. You obviously probably had like your one question you had to get an answer to, but when did you feel him and that tension like change in the interview from like not even maybe wanting to take a photo at the end because he kind of started to get like overwhelmed?
Right. I mean, I think the mug was a very good investment.
Unlike crypto.
Best $10 I ever spent on Etsy. What's that?
I said Adam's right. Like you kept your composure when he was like fidgety.
Yeah. There's a funny moment, and so I interviewed him for over an hour, and it's only 6 minutes in the movie, so I'm not going to bore you guys. But there's a funny moment that got cut, but at the beginning he sits down with me and I leave, and he like looks at the mug and he does like a
Did you leave that? That's what they do in interrogation rooms.
yeah, exactly.
Where did you say you were going?
There was noise in the hall, and I
Okay,
was
okay.
literally just it was genuine,
Oh,
sincere. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's actually, I should have done that too. It's funny. I've been cops too, and I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I don't know that there was like a single moment when I noticed. I think it was a progression, but by the end of it, he was definitely. I don't know what he expected exactly, or whether he thought about it. I don't know. But he had been getting a lot of softballs from the financial press, like a lot of softballs.
Why did the person cut it off though at the end?
Because we were talking for over an hour.
But I also, I mean, again, I only saw 6 minutes. My interpretation was, as any good publicist, you know, like when it's going
Yeah.
south, they're like, well, you have a call, you have to go. You have to cut it, you know. I think we're supposed to leave.
Yeah, sorry. No. Thank you
Thank you
guys
so
so
much.
much for coming out.
Thank you.
Adam Brody.